last time out in Sweden, where one man kept his cool and reaped an overdue reward. Good things come to those who wait, and it's been some wait for Esa-Pekka Lappi and co-driver Janne Fan. A second WRC victory, more than 6 years since their first. Even their closest supporters were beginning to wonder if it would ever happen.
There was actually recently, Janne told me a couple of days ago, before we were even fighting for the win, that he is 6-year-old. We were visiting her friend, and then the dad of the friend was asking that Janne and Ibi gonna win, and then Janne's daughter said, they never win. so now I can say, yes, we do.
A victory to savour, at the same time strangely frustrating. Having established a comfortable lead as early as Saturday morning, Lappi's rally became a matter of race management rather than attack. More relief than joy by the time they reached Sunday's finish.
Yeah, definitely, because it's been very annoying to drive these 1.5 days slowly managing. I haven't really enjoyed the driving, actually, because you are not really using the car correct way when you drive a bit slower. It's just in terms of driving, it's not so enjoyable, but after the finish line now I can start to enjoy, because I know the job is done. You know, we've done what we are here for, and now I have a permission to enjoy.
Events swung in the Finns' favour pretty much from the start. Friday morning, the early departure of two pre-rally favourites. Hyundai teammate Oitana into a snowbank in stage 4. The two-time Sweden winner reduced to electric EV mode. Elsewhere in the stage, world champion and rally leader Kalle Rovanperä stopped. Telltale damage to the rear of his Yaris R1. Two big hitters out by Friday lunchtime. Takamoto Katsuta winning the stage to assume the rally lead. Lappi in second, the filling in the Toyota sandwich ahead of third-placed Elvin Evans. The Finn nicely set for a podium on his first outing of the season.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's very clear. Two favorites are out, and then we were already having some gap to Elfin, I think. Not a big gap, but a little gap. So for sure, this already was an indicator for me that, okay, podium is not easily done, but sort of very possible. And then, for sure, this Friday afternoon on these horrible conditions, when the gap started to be massive, then it was very clear that, okay, now it's second or first place for us. And then it was just actually keeping own pace and wait what happens, and then it happened.
It being the departure of Takamoto Katsuta. Locked in a fight with Lappi on Friday, trading the rally lead. The Finn with a 3.2 second advantage overnight. Katsuta reducing the gap to less than a second after Saturday's opening test, only to lose it in the next stage.
Oh no! No! Oh, that's Takamoto Katsuta and Aaron Johnson gone off the road.
Actually, I got the message already on the start line, so I knew it before I started the stage. And first reaction was that I'm sure I said that it's gonna be a long weekend. And I was not wrong. But that's how it is. For sure, I feel sorry for them, but on that moment you cannot really think about it. You know, you still need to keep your concentration. But yeah, it's just immediately we backed off and the strategy changed.
By Saturday lunchtime, Lappi's lead was well over a minute. Behind him, attention turned to the fight for the other podium places, led by M Sport's Adrian Formeau, impressing in the Puma R1. Stage winner Saturday afternoon, ending the day in second, ahead of Elvin Evans. Lappi still more than a minute out front, but knowing one stray drift into a snowbank could prove very costly. So having to resist a racer's instinct to test the limits going into Sunday's final loop, easier said than done.
It is very difficult. It was more about not to do the same mistake what the others did, that they lean on the bank, then they got the front in and it was done. And this is so easy to do, especially this year when the banks were really massive and they were hard. And they were breaking the radiator or whatever. So I really backed off to not to touch the banks at all. And for sure it cost us a lot of time, but it was also very safe to do it. I wanted to play really safe.
Jätkä ei oo enää yksinkertainen. Kallelta ja Jonnelta terveiset, että sä vasta sitten ilta.
Safe, sensible, successful. Career win number 2 for Esa-Pekka Lappi and Janne Firm, just under 30 seconds ahead of Elvin Evans. 3 manufacturers on the podium in Sweden, thanks to a career best 3rd place for Frenchman Adrien Fourmeau. Sunday in Sweden offered a first real indicator of the impacts of the WRC's new scoring system. A chance to gain significant bonus points, which Elvin Evans grabbed with both hands. The Welshman quickest overall through the 3 final stages to take 7 Super Sunday points, added to 4 more for second fastest through the power stage, all of which meant Evans left Sweden as the highest point scorer, 24 in total, 5 more than rally winner Lappi. Also scoring well on Super Sunday, 8 bonus points, helping the Belgian retain his early lead in the Drivers' Championship. The Hyundai star on 48 points, 3 more than Evans. Fourmeau up to 3rd thanks to his first WRC podium. But victory and the weekend in Sweden belonging to Esa-Pekka Lappi. 60 rallies, 14 changes, a record 6 years and 204 days since that maiden win in Finland. It's been a long and lively rollercoaster ride to WRC win number 2.
In the end of 2020, when basically my career stopped, for sure in that moment it was very clear that if you're never gonna drive again with the WRC car, you will never win again. But yeah, things changed. Okay, then it was again possible. We were actually not too bad on 2022 last season. I'm sure everyone was thinking that we will never win, especially on the last races where we crashed, in a row. It was not even clear that if we're gonna continue. So there has been a couple of times the thinking that it will not happen again, but in the other hand, it hasn't been bothering me, It doesn't change my life in the end at all. I will be the same father at home. Do I have the second win or 3rd, or do I be a world champion? I'm still the same guy at home, and that's in the end what it matters. So, yeah.
Wise words from our winter rally winner, WRC victory number 2, the second success of the season for Hyundai, but good points for Toyota, drawing level in the Manufacturers' Championship, tied on 87 points after the opening 2 rounds. M-Sport Ford on 47. From the sub-zero winter wonderland of Sweden to the wild plains of Africa, the world champion looking for more success on safari where the rainy season awaits. And when it rains on the plains, it rains.
The surface what we see there on rain is the most slippiest surface you can have. So I think if we are going to have some proper rains there, it can be extremely tricky.
Hot and dusty one moment, wet and wild the next. We're all set for safari. Next stop on the WRC's 2024 Global Tour, a walk on the wild side. Into Africa, the legendary Safari Rally Kenya. Round 3 of the campaign earlier this year brought forward from mid-season to its more traditional Easter slot. And with that, added jeopardy. The rainy season, the threat of frequent cloudbursts. The mantra on Safari, expect the unexpected. Safari Rally Kenya, a big contrast to what's gone so far this season. The chills and thrills of Monte Carlo and Sweden. Now a first venture onto the loose. Dust rather than gravel. That's to come after Croatia's tarmac. Poland returns, the midpoint of the season. Latvia making its WRC debut as we head into the second half of the campaign. And a familiar journey via Europe and South America en route to the season finale in Japan. Safari Rally Kenya, firmly established on the World Rally calendar after its return 3 years ago. A true classic. Toyota chasing their first win of the season, dominant on Safari over the years. World champion Kalle Rovanperä hoping to repeat his victory here 2 years ago.
A Safari is a special event, of course. The challenge is always to let's say, try to manage the speed between going really fast and taking care of the car and the tires. This year going in the different time of the year in the rain season. The surface what we see there on rain is the most slippiest surface you can have ever, I think, on that kind of condition. And it's so difficult, so I think if we are gonna have some proper rains there, it can be extremely tricky.
Of course, it's the most extreme event we do on the calendar in terms of how rough the terrain is. Of course, there's an element in Safari of looking after the car, which doesn't happen so much with the strength of the modern car. So still in Safari, there's a lot to think about. And of course, we head there now in what they call rainy season. So the setup is something quite unique. Of course, the car is at its highest that it is throughout the year. Naturally, we have a lot of these dips and bumps and jumps. So we naturally need a lot of ride height in the car, but that also then poses the challenge that the car is up in the air, and you have to try and manage the fact that you won't need grip, but you also have to manage the fact that the car is so high you have to stop it rolling so much. So it's quite a difficult balance to strike between getting the grip and of course having the protection you need to survive Safari.
Eldon Evans, two-time podium finisher in Kenya, part of a dominant Toyota team on Safari. 3 straight victories, locking out the podium each year with one exception. Oitanak claiming 3rd place for Hyundai on the WRC's return to Africa in 2021.
First time I was there, I was, not really sure what's going to be happen. Obviously, it's so wide open there, and actually also the stages are changing a lot, from one to another. And there are actually stages which are a bit like roads, and then there are stages you are just driving on the fields for 20-30 kilometers. So the challenge is to keep the car in one piece and to not have a puncture and let's say do not have any kind of issue where you can lose time just because of something not related to driving.
Sometimes you don't follow the roads, you make your own road, it's hard to see where the road is going, the wreck is already challenging, you can have some really rough sections, so the change of rhythm is quite big in some of the stages. And generally the animals crossing, the nature, the locals who are excited about the WRC, and everything looks a bit different on paper and even more on reality.
It's really different at what we normally. We just flat in every corner and we use the grip. Now it's different. You need to choose your lines, etc. to get through also, basically, to not be damaging the car or not getting a lot of fish in the cockpit. It's special. I think it's many things. It's not only one. And it's longer, so it's a really long rally if you look at the conditions we can find. And if you add the weather, then it's a completely different rally.
The thing that's a bit special is the Rally 1 are so strong. You might think it's a really a rally you need to be careful with and just manage through the rough section. But the level of WRC is so high and the level of the car is so high as well and so strong that I think you just have to drive almost like normally on any other event, and that's the difficult part of knowing, do I have to manage or do I just go through it, and we will see. So that's a bit special about Kenya.
Safari Rally 2024. Different time of the year, but a familiar format for most of the crews. Service HQ at the Kenyan Wildlife Training Institute overlooking Lake Naivasha in the Great Rift Valley, from where they'll tackle 19 special stages. Slightly longer route this year by 12 kilometres, now 367 k's against the clock. Thursday's ceremonial starts, followed by the side-by-side opening super special at Kasarani, just under 5 kilometres. Friday, pretty much identical to last year. 6 stages, 2 loops of 3 near Lake Naivasha. The forest tracks of Loldia, followed by geothermal, and then Gidon. Fractionally longer at 31.5 kilometres. 2 runs through there, making up almost half the 127 kilometres of bone-shaking rough roads on Friday. Midday service, a welcome respite for crews and cars. Saturday, again familiar to regular visitors, taking to stages around Lake Elementita. So Sambu, almost 30 kilometres, features big straights, flowing corners, rocky climbs, river crossings, then Elementita itself, before the mighty Sleeping Warrior, extended this year up from 31 to 36 kilometres. It's the longest stage of the weekend and scene of torrential downpours in recent years, leading to chaotic driving conditions. Sunday, another double loop of 6 stages, starting with the 8 kilometres of Milawa. Remember Calais Rottenpera's astonishing blast through there last year. Osirangoni, same 18 kilometres as last year, but with a name change. The WRC's epic safari adventure, ending once again with Hell's Gate. 10.53 kilometres, one final rough ride to the finish line, and hard-earned glory for those who've tamed Africa's wild plains. Still to come, nicknames, numbers, and a blast from the past. The must-have accessory synonymous with the safari.
It allows basically to take the air from the roof, where it's much cleaner air and there's no pollution such as water or fish.
The safari snorkel makes a welcome return. That and more still to come.
Hakika ni kwa mara nyingine tena, ama ni siku nyingine tena, wakati ambapo tunakuletea mashindano ya magari, ikiwa ni mashindano ya WRC Safari Rally, yakiwa ni mashindano ya kufana, mashindano ambayo kwa kusema kweli ni mkondo wa 3 kuweza kuandaliwa msimu huu, ikiwa ni kwamba ni mkondo wa WRC Safari Rally. Kumbuka kwamba kwenye mkondo wa kwanza uliweza kuandaliwa ni kwamba ilikuwa ni Rally Monte, ambao ulikuwa ni mkondo wa kwanza, uliandaliwa mwezi Januari, Thierry Neuville akiibuka kwa mshindi, na katika mkondo wa